So I think carrying on from the last panel, so much of AI, right? No one thought about that the customers are also going to be machines very soon. And I think that's where we are heading to. A lot of our customers are going to be machines, intermediate customers. And preparing for that itself requires a very different technology stack. At least I can say that from a tech standpoint. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think the backends are all changing to align to that. So, in fact, the thought process of this session is largely to see. At this point in time, Rohit is driving a very large transformation. I think everybody is eagerly looking at what he's doing. But primarily, he has worked across industries. He's worked across in real depth. So I thought it will be good for us to understand, maybe at a broader level, when you're looking at transformations in these ecosystems, where from AI to human to customer, everybody's involved. So how do you drive large transformation before we come to specific questions out here?
So the large transformations are typically driven from a very clear business objective that we have to have. A clear business objective and an aligned leadership in terms of driving that is extremely important. Any transformation program across, right? We need to have the bandwidth of leadership to ensure that we get the structures in place, we have a process in place. And obviously with the structure and process in place, we have the bandwidth of the change champions also built across the organization to drive this large transformation program. So that's how you would typically push that. A large transformation also has to be clearly benefits, the benefits have to be clearly defined for any large transformation. And the tracking of benefits also has to be transparent across the transformation programs that you're looking at. For that, there will be implications from a people standpoint as well. So those people aspects also have to be taken care when you're doing a large transformation program. When we talk about people, we're talking about aligning the people through incentives across the organization for the goal going forward.
Maybe you talk about people, maybe you can give us a guidance how transformation teams can be orchestrated. For example, sometimes we have over-investment into people, sometimes it's under. And again, from a skill set perspective, right? So you end up in a mishy-meshy and everybody's scared. We were talking to a client where we are basically helping in transformation. Everybody's scared to take decisions, and and sometimes the skills are not there. So how, in the current realm where we talk about data, AI, and all of that, how do you ensure that we get the right people for the transformation? How do you train them for the transformation as well? Many would have not gone through it.
No, I think the problem is real. There are disguised layers across the organizations. When we are looking at, decision making, we're looking at delegation, we're looking at driving the processes, ownership. There are a lot of disguised layers in the organizations. Disguised, I say this either because they are passing the buck, or they do not have the skills. The idea of creating a structure for a large transformation program is to identify how do we actually create a structure where people take ownership and accountability. That is extremely important. Any large, big transformation project, program, anything. Accountability and ownership by the team has to be 100%, nothing less than that. Even if it is 99%, the transformation program is going to fail. We have to have that 100% accountability. To drive that accountability and ownership, there are multiple ways of looking at it. You create a structure around it. You delegate pieces around it. You create supporting systems so that decisions can be taken faster. And then you align people from an incentive standpoint. All the 4 ways in which you can actually drive the transformation program.
Oh, perfect. Maybe I'll jump first to end result and come back, right? We had a slightly awkward result in a client side. We went for transformation, and it was very specific area of choice. And we solved for it in maybe 90 odd days. And suddenly we have a scenario where people who are there working on those activities had no tasks, right? And they had to be trained. And we could not foresee that it will happen that fast, right? Because sometimes you are not able to gauge. So maybe I'll flipping it to it. So when the end result comes, at that point of time, how do you ensure that those who were doing those roles, finally we are changing the roles and perspective of each one of them, be it in tech side or be it in operations sales side. They have to learn technology. So how do you manage the adoption side? How do you manage the roles and responsibility and KPI transformation? KPIs are sometimes are still old world.
Absolutely. So I think from a technology change management standpoint, there are multiple methods and processes to handle it. But there is nothing like over communication which works here. Just over communicate the goals, over communicate what you want to create that awareness in the organization. The problem of disinformation in a transformation project is very real. The gossips which go around, the disinformation which it creates will actually jeopardize the transformation program. It will bring down, it will sap out the energy. So from that standpoint, we'll have to create and communicate the awareness part of it. Then you need to create some kind of a desire in the organization to adopt that piece. That is done through by enumerating the benefits, creating change champions, and ensuring that you are going down to the people who are actually brass tacks and telling them how this will improve the way of work, this will improve their working life at the end of creating that desire. Once you've created the desire, the third step is to ensure that they are trained enough, they know about it, right? They have to know about what it is, how to do it as well. It's not enough, I want a faster car. I should know how to drive it as well, right? So that's the third step of it in terms of doing it. And finally, from our standpoint, you have to look at then driving that value. You're able to go from point A to point B faster with that and get the feedback. Feedback loop is also extremely important. Listen to the feedback, incorporate that feedback, and go back to the drawing board if need be, or go back and improvise if need be. It cannot be, one bullet. It has to be multiple bullets from a transformation program. You cannot build it once. It has to be built and optimized over a period of time. So from a change management standpoint, we have to follow these steps with clear over communication going forward.
No, I think an honest answer is that in these, when it looks like all bookish at times, right? But in real world, when we see it working, we miss out, right? I think we've had cases where when we're working with the client, all we have done in many cases is just to ensure that the communication is done, prioritization. I think half the time when we do transformation, we want to prioritize everything. Every business thinks that their product should come first and their journey should come first. If it is not done, then your business is lost. So how do you think about maybe prioritization in each programs, right? Because this can kill the business itself.
So I think the prioritization framework comes from clear leadership. If the leadership is clear about the priorities, that will flow down. If there is a confusion within the leadership teams with respect to, I want this or I want that, I want this product versus I want this channel, there will be a confusion. If the leadership is clear, I want this product and then this channel, the entire organization will fall through. That's why I always say that from a large transformation or even any transformation standpoint, the clarity has to come, the priority has to come from leadership.
Okay. In terms of, now I move toward a tech side of it, right? I think that's just going at slightly higher level. Purely from a tech side, what kind of infra would be required? Maybe as we go forward, I think we talk a lot about cloud. Sometimes I feel cloud is overhyped as well, right? Because when business starts telling us that we should use cloud, I just feel surprised and shocked. So, and we have had this discussion where there are bigger experts on AI and blockchain than actually CIOs normally in the organization. I don't know how you see on LinkedIn, how many of you have seen tons of data on AI and blockchain? You talk to 99% of experts, they don't know nothing, right? Just pick and throw. So how do you build the infra which is right for the organization? How do you build API layer which is right for the organization? How do you build it, right? What are the frameworks you have to do as part of transformation?
No, so this is a very contextual question. Let me limit this to insurance, since we are all sitting here from an insurance standpoint. the enterprise architecture needed to drive a large transformation program has to reflect the goals of the larger transformation program. If your goals, for example, is faster go-to-market, the enterprise architecture has to reflect that. If your goals are around creation of multiple products or diversity of products, then your enterprise architecture has to reflect that. One, and if you are foreseeing that there will be a fair amount of uncertainty in the industry, then the flexibility has to be built into the enterprise architecture. So those 3-4 goals, an overall standpoint on the enterprise tech stack has to be kept in view. Having kept that, if we can fairly decouple the enterprise architecture in a manner that we can build it like a Lego block going forward, especially in insurance industry, it is beneficial for the organization. When I say Lego block, because a lot of times it happens, in insurance industry, the tenure of the customer is so long that you sometimes tend to get almost wedded to the tech components in the enterprise architecture. So that cannot be, because that will set in the legacy and will create issues from a legacy standpoint in the enterprise architecture. So creating that modularity is extremely important. How do we create that modularity is by creating specific layers in the architecture. As we last panel spoke about, data is a very important layer in insurance part of parlance, right? So data layer has to be completely modular, separate from an enterprise stack standpoint. Then only you will be able to leverage any good algorithms built on top of it and drive value out of those algorithms. Maybe it on claims, servicing, onboarding, fraud, underwriting, so on and so forth. So that becomes an extremely important part. Second part is ecosystem standpoint. Now, ecosystem in a tech stack is extremely important because insurance industry are not standalone companies, right? You will have TPAs, you will have health, you will have in life, you will have multiple medical, where you get your medicals done. So all those pieces, you will have to create that entire, and for sales, multiple other ecosystems, right? So you'll have to create that ecosystem. How do you build a tech stack for the ecosystem is important from an integration layer standpoint. Right? That will also help us reduce our dependence on the core system as such. So more and more APIs, creating an API factory as we move forward from an insurance standpoint is extremely important.
I think when I was getting into, and maybe you have been the one who has been educating me a lot on insurance side. So I think banking has pretty decent core bankings, right? I think while they will look like legacy, but they were still built in year 2000 onwards. Whereas in this side, there are still very dated systems working. So how do you transform in such an environment? And I technically heard hollow the core from you more than anybody else. So what is the basis of how do you go about transforming in this kind of ecosystem?
Yeah, so I understand past systems, policy administration systems in life insurance specifically, you have a limited choice in that sense, right? So how do we ensure we are able to work around that problem is a real problem from our from the industry standpoint. 2-3 things. Obviously, move out transactions for as much as possible out of your core, as much as possible. Move out data out of the core, right? If you're able to move the data out of the core, at least your dependence on the core system will not be there for basic data, right? So that gets decoupled. The basic transactions, the engagement transactions are completely moved out of your core system. Your customer engagement, so it can be much more flexible. It will be very digital journey based, right? If you're able to move them out of the core systems. Those are some of the areas where you can look at. There are organizations which have experimented with dual core systems. Very difficult from a regulation standpoint, very difficult from a maintenance standpoint, and very costly also, right? So in a specific context, it may have its advantages, but it's extremely difficult to manage dual core from that standpoint. There could be a bifocal as well, where you have one newer age core system which does everything, and one which runs your existing set of customers, which runs your back book. That also people have tried. Internationally, people have done a lot of backbook outsourcing, including the core system outsourcing to larger organizations. That also has worked across.
So while I have more questions, I want to see if there are in audience, is there any question for Rohit? Can you get another mic, please, from here? So mic to mic exchange, okay. Oh, I didn't realize it's right here. आपके हाथ में नहीं चलता है. So can somebody please help when the mic is side? Yeah, it's not working. Okay, you can shout and then we'll continue, right?
Is it about the range? No, it's not the range.
It's not the range. It's yeah.
Hello.
It's a controller out there. He doesn't want you to speak. Okay.
Okay, I have a quick question for Rohit on incident management or breach, and especially with the DPDPA, now getting implemented soon with the guidelines expected. What are the steps that insurance companies must take to ensure that the data infra security posture management and security policies are in place? And the reason I ask this because it is just not limited to data fiduciaries here. Data has been shared with data processors and even with marketing companies, which may use the data to communicate with clients on the policies. So what are the transformation steps that you think insurance companies should be taking in next couple of months?
No, I think it's an industry problem. Right, insurance industry in last 1 year has been typically hit hard on this aspect. But overall, cybersecurity posture has to be strengthened across the industry. It's not just the insurers itself. There is an entire ecosystem around it. When we talk about ecosystem, I think extremely important to have one shift left of your entire information security. When I say shift left in tech language, it means you're able to get security by design. When you're designing applications, you're embedding security. So get DevSecOps, get your scans done at the build phase in your pipelines itself. In DevOps, I'll be slightly technical, I'm sorry, but the question is so. You'll have to get your DevSecOps into the place, right? One. Number two, it's extremely important to be careful with the PII data. And for that, I think we'll have to look at higher order of encryptions and data masking. Number three, the data sharing that is being done across the organizations has to be done in a legitimate way. When I say legitimate, there has to be proper handshakes between APIs. A lot of data moves in the industry with file transfers and even Excels, right? That's a dangerous trend. As an industry, we'll have to take care of.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe space for just one last question.
Hi Rohit, good morning.
Maybe you can introduce yourself as well, that will help.
Hello, I am Kaustubh, and pleasure listening both of you. So a question goes on what you explained just now. So it very nicely explained the accountability in the strategic transformation, and then again the follow the core API first. Main such idea, and even know the answer about shift left the security. Curious to know basically this is all so many of it's a huge spectrum. As a leader, you have visibility. But when it goes down, I mean, in the noise of so many of the offerings for every place, is there, kind of a strategy, a help, a skill? I mean, how to achieve all that? The bigger confusion is that basically, that, what part is known, how part is difficult, because everybody says they can, satisfy with a set of products or set of solutions. Cloud says everything they can do. And legacy is all in data center on-prem. So, I'm very curious on that how you are solving that challenge, and how do you suggest?
A simple answer, have a good team like I have.
Yeah, I think makes sense because one of the reason, I'll give you one very simple example. This is our first venture into this event, and you would be surprised that the kind of kids who have worked are as young as just come out of colleges and doing it, right? I think it's just a team which matters. If they get it right and all skills are right, it's great. Maybe I'll just take one last question, yeah? You have a choice to make. I have no partial stuff, right? And I think bias was on the front side, I guess, so sorry about that.
Hi, I'm Vineet from InfoExam. I just wanted to know, Rohit's, your perspective on how the Bima Sugam is shaping up the entire insurance scene in India. We hear a lot from the regulator's point of view, but maybe from an insurer point of view.
No, I think Bima Sugam is the right direction, but we are still at the baby steps, right? The first pilot is planned in a few months now, and we will look at how that pilot goes, and we will see. So it's a long journey, frankly, from a Bima Sugam standpoint, and we are all part of that journey as we move forward. It's a good step towards moving towards higher insurance penetration, specifically.
I think we are all eagerly looking at what it is, but I think the next time when we have this event, I think by that time this would have played on. We had reached out to them to get him, but I think they were waiting for it to get launched. That's more appropriate as well for the marketplace, saying that how it will play. Everybody's looking at it, and everybody's looking at like a UPI moment. But I think from a framework perspective, UPI took time, right? Honestly, we are all part of the journey where we were building it up, and from a banking perspective, and we were integrating, and that those were the nightmarish days. We did not know. We are again still coming from the world where people want to check manually everything, right? I remember one of my ops guy was saying that NEFT मैं check करता हूँ every half an hour. So can you ensure that when UPI comes, I check it every half an hour? So I didn't have an answer. So with this, I close now. Thank you Rohit for guiding and supporting. Thank you.